Australia's energy future just turned into a political battlefield. One speech, one gas plan, and a direct challenge to the entire system. Pauline Hanson didn't just announce policy, she declared war on energy politics. What she proposed next could change who controls Australia's gas wealth forever.
Oil and gas policy. This is a bold, long-term vision that will give the Australian people vastly greater returns from their resources and align government objectives with our world-class gas industry. Australia's gas reserves are nothing short of a miracle. For a country with only 0.3% of the world's population, we supply nearly 10% of the world's exported gas. One Nation has always fought for a fair return for the Australian people on our country's natural resources. Australians are rightly unhappy. Despite our enormous resource wealth, ordinary families are not seeing the benefits in affordable energy, reduced debt, or improved services. Public unrest is building because successive governments have failed to secure a fair share, while pursuing policies that risk killing the industry that generates that wealth. One Nation understands that gas doesn't magically extract itself. Gas production is only possible with the expertise of the private industry. One Nation will work with industry as a partner, leveraging this expertise to get the most out of our incredible resources. We want more gas, more oil, and more energy to drive our economy forward, pay down our debts, and secure our energy future. Before I go on to our policy, I would like to take a moment to address the other policies that have been put forward. Senator David Pocock and the Greens Party, along with lobby groups like the Australian Institute, continue to call for an industry-destroying 25% tax on gas exports. The tax would apply to the total value of all gas exports and destroy the economics of the entire industry. That is their goal. They have drawn false equivalency with countries like Norway, who share the full risks and rewards with their industry. A model that has succeeded because government and industry partner together, supported by generous tax incentives. These activists simply want to destroy our gas industry and push their green agenda scam. It's nothing more than economic vandalism. They don't live in reality. They live in a ridiculous net zero fantasy world, where fertilisers, plastics, medicines and rubber can be made with the intermittent power from solar panels, where the 1,500 degree furnaces for smelting can be run on wind turbines. They want gas stopped. One Nation wants more gas extracted, bigger returns and real energy security.
What's your take on this political debate? Do you agree with the arguments or think it's just spin? Drop your opinion in the comments below and let's see where people really stand on this issue.
One Nation has previously considered an East Coast gas reservation policy. However, through consultation with industry and stakeholders, it became clear that it fell short of our policy objectives. The government's 20% reservation policy will damage onshore development of oil and gas projects. Many of these projects are Australian producers currently supplying the domestic market. It forces inefficient use of our precious resources under the oversupply model. We will not destroy the industry with forced oversupply. Our policy will instead be flexible to export surplus gas when domestic demand is satisfied, building sovereign wealth rather than undermining domestic supply projects. Typical of this government, they have thrust these changes onto existing projects with little to no consultation, damaging their ongoing feasibility. This policy is a blunt tool that will result in less competition and less efficient industry. One Nation's policy will drive more exploration, more development, and more production without pushing out smaller Australian producers. One Nation is proposing a genuine partnership with the gas industry, from exploration through to production and decommissioning. We will provide a 30% rebate on genuine oil and gas exploration in Commonwealth waters. In exchange, the Commonwealth may take up to 30% equity in issued production licences. The Commonwealth would be responsible for its cost.
What Pauline Hanson just announced wasn't just another policy speech. It was a direct challenge to Australia's entire energy direction, and she made that very clear from the opening line. When she said, "I have a vision for this country," she immediately framed this as something bigger than politics. She wasn't just presenting a gas policy, she was positioning herself as someone trying to redefine how Australia benefits from its natural resources. And right away, she leaned into the core message. Australia is resource-rich, but everyday citizens are not feeling it. That's the emotional foundation of her entire argument. She's basically saying, the country is sitting on massive gas wealth, but ordinary families are still dealing with high prices and limited benefits. That contrast is what she uses to build pressure throughout the speech. Then she shifts into one of her strongest framing tactics: scale and unfairness. She highlights how Australia produces a huge share of global gas, despite a tiny population. That comparison is designed to make one point clear: we are being underpaid for what we give to the world. It's a powerful line of reasoning because it turns an economic issue into a fairness issue. But the tone quickly escalates when she directly attacks competing policy ideas, especially the proposed export tax model and net zero direction. This is where the speech stops being just policy and becomes ideological conflict. She doesn't just disagree, she frames those policies as destructive to the entire industry. That kind of language is designed to polarize the audience and force a clear divide between us and them. Then comes the most important shift in the speech, the move from criticism to solution. She introduces a partnership model between government and industry, where the state doesn't just regulate but actually takes an ownership stake. The idea of a Commonwealth equity share in gas projects is significant because it changes the government's role from outsider to participant. This is where the speech becomes more complex. Instead of simple regulation, she's proposing a hybrid system: part private industry, part state investment. And she repeatedly stresses that it's not a takeover, but a commercial partnership. That language is important because it's clearly designed to counter accusations of state control or socialist policy framing. But the most impactful part of the plan is the creation of a sovereign wealth-style structure through ANWIC. This is positioned as a long-term national investment vehicle that would manage Australia's share of gas revenue and reinvest it into the economy. In political terms, this is her attempt to turn natural resources into a permanent financial asset rather than just export income. As the speech continues, she reinforces two key narratives at the same time. First, that current government policy is unstable and hurting investment. And second, that international partners like Japan and South Korea depend on Australia's energy exports, meaning stability is not just domestic, it's global. Finally, she closes with a broader political message: cutting regulation, rejecting net zero targets, and accusing previous governments of ignoring industry input. This brings the speech back full circle to her original theme. Australia is rich in resources but poor in decision-making when it comes to using them. So, when you step back from it, this wasn't just a gas policy announcement. It was a full economic identity argument. One nation is essentially saying the country needs to stop treating gas as just a resource to regulate and start treating it as a national asset to actively profit from. And whether you agree with it or not, the real tension here is clear. This is a direct clash between energy transition policy and resource nationalism. And neither side is backing down. Agree or disagree? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more political updates like this.